All right, we're back. Before we get into that, we're going to talk about dual income and something like that. We just got off air and saw we're recording this. Charlie Kirk just got shot, and it's, I don't know, it was an hour ago. So this is coming out probably a couple weeks after we record. So hopefully there was some sort of good outcome here. But that did not look good. And like, I don't care what you think about what people say or what you agree with or not. There is just something really broken in society that stuff like this happens. You know, everyone right now is fighting over also what happened to that poor girl on that train the other day in Charlotte. It was just viciously attacked. And it's just like, I got the picture outside the studio of Bill the Butcher from Gangs of New York, and that's the scene where he's looking at Leonardo DiCaprio and non sequitur says civilization is crumbling. And I really am an optimist, but sometimes it's hard not to look at that and wonder, like, man, was that movie they were making while September 11th was happening, you know, really onto something there?
Yeah, that's the most horrific. Like, I am just disgusted at that. And, you know, I didn't know Charlie, or I don't know Charlie personally, but that society is just crumbling. And so my prayers are with Charlie and his family, and I know our prayers are, because it's just so sad. Like, you have a father, you know, I always say to people who are dissenters against our opinion or whatever, is we're just on the opposite sides of the same coin. Like, you and I are actually brothers or sisters or whatever. And we don't see, we were talking about that freaking sliver in you and in me. And when we don't see that, when everything is chance, Julian, when life doesn't fucking matter, like, I'll go out guns blazing. And that's what we're missing, is we're missing hope, and we're missing that sliver in you and sliver in me and sliver in Charlie, whether I agree with Charlie or not. Like, he is created for something bigger than just chance. And we take it, you know, just like the train, just like that horrific thing on the train. Like, when we have no hope, we just have no value in life. And so I think it's ironic that we were talking about the pendulum with Jesus and where you fall in that pendulum, because it's like, when Christ says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, like, that's what I believe society is missing right now. And you know,
that's order.
Yeah. It's just so sickening to see.
That's I just have a pit in my stomach. I don't.
Where does this, like you mentioned this, right? Like, society is crumbling, and that's like within our America. Like, and you see all these, yesterday there was the strike in Qatar. You know, Qatar had just donated that plane to Trump, right? And they're investing a lot of money in the United States, and then they got struck, and then you have all these nations across the world that are fighting each other, and then we have all this infighting going on within the United States. Like, where do you think this goes?
I mean, I'm a YouTuber, so I don't know. You know,
but you say that, but you've dedicated your life and career to, like, a lot of these issues, right? And researching and talking about them and interviewing different people and from different walks of life, right? Like,
yeah.
Do you think we end up in a civil type war here?
Again, I'm an optimist. Are there things that I'll say, like, oh, I'm cynical about this or that, and I really am? Yes, but like, I do like to see the good in people. I don't think we would end up in something like that, and I'm very careful about bringing. That is a big term, and part of it is also you can't get caught up in the world you live in. I live in a world where a job of mine is to understand what's happening on the internet, and there's a lot of people who care about that, but there's a lot of people who don't. And I've always talked about this Wawa theory. When I was living in my parents' house during COVID for 3.5 years, building this thing, you know, I was sociable in the fact that people came through the house, but I locked myself off from the world while I was building this. And so one of the rare respites, or whatever, if that's a proper use of that term, I would get is when I would pick up guests from the airport. On the way home, we'd stop at Wawa, you know, and I'd, you know, get them whatever they wanted before the podcast. And when things were getting weird, I mean, they were weird the whole time, but, you know, when shit would be going down online, I would just watch people in the Wawa, and I would see the pink-haired girl with 3 nose rings holding the door for the guy with the Nom hat. And there was no like, or anything like that. I was like, oh, thank you so much. And people went about their life. And I realized, I'm like, those two people, if they were behind keyboards right now, if they are, would probably be dehumanizing each other. But in the real world, it's not the keyboard. Sometimes, though, we see that come out in like what we just saw, and that's what scares me. That's where I worry about, like, would people go in the streets with stuff? And I don't want to see that. And I think I take it really seriously to have whatever responsibility I have doing what I do, to have voices represented across the spectrum of different ideas. Obviously, I'm a generalist. I do a lot of different topics, but also to try to not go to extremes with, what, regardless of what side it's on, with people who have extreme beliefs, and that's for someone else to do. You know what I mean? I like to think the average person is the average person, and we'll be all right. That's kind of my long-winded answer. But yeah, when you see stuff like that, it's, that's horrific.
But that's brilliantly said, and that goes back to that sliver in each of us. That blue-haired earring, 3 earrings girl, like, respects the dignity of this other individual, and vice versa. And that's literally what the true church is supposed to be. Yeah. It's supposed to be this organic body that moves through these shitty systems that we've built, these vulnerable, like, greed and ego-driven systems. And when the church isn't the church, everything else goes to shit. And the church is not the church. And it's like, that's all I can say to that literally disgusting video. And then the other one of the girl on the train. The church has totally lost its way. And so how can any other system find its way if the literal beacon of light is dark as hell?
Well, like, you defined it well today when you separate church from, like, physical church or organizational church or whatever you're saying. The church is supposed to be like, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it's really supposed to get the core of what it is, which is the belief in, like, Jesus and God and doing things the right way. I think, as annoying as it is to see some of these organizations take advantage of this, and you guys are doing a great job exposing that, as you should, if I were looking at it from your perspective as, like, true Christians who want the right things, you do have to say, in the last 2 or 3 years, whatever it is, I don't know, but there's a massive movement publicly, and I would say, like, even to define it, like, on social media, of, like, people becoming Christians or becoming spiritual or becoming religion and, turn into something that's higher than themselves. And you know what? Sometimes I'll see it and I'm like, someone feels like a bandwagon jumper. But a lot of times I see it and I'm like, dude, good for that person. They seem like they're really into that and they found some peace. And there's something in the world. Maybe it was COVID itself or whatever came with that. I don't know. Something in the world maybe moved that in that direction. Do you see that too?